No need.
No need, need.
No need. Okay. Good evening,
Good
everyone.
evening.
Because many come to join in our Sundown worship, I will tell you also many things.
Yeah. Okay. Many friends of you tell us many things.
Okay. I chose a topic about marriage.
Oh.
I'm not planning to get married yet, okay? Okay. They say love is blind. Agree with that? No. And they said marriage is an institution. How about for singles and for those planning to be married in the future? Are you ready for an institution for the blind? So when you get back home, before you sleep, you have to think about that. Okay. Our key text tonight can be found in the book of Ecclesiastes 9 verse 9. Live joyfully with your wife, whom thou lovest all the days of your life, which hath given thee under the sun all the days of thy vanity. For that is thy portion in this life, and in thy labor which thou takest under the sun. Okay, I'm going to tell you a story about married husband. The husband is telling this story. Okay. One night when the husband got home, as his wife served the dinner, he held her hand and said, "I've got something to tell you." So she sat down and ate quietly. But the husband observed the hurt in her eyes. Suddenly, okay, I will speak as the man, okay? Suddenly, I didn't know how to open my mouth, the man said. But I had to let her know what I was thinking. I want a divorce. I raised the topic calmly. So the man here is asking for divorce. She didn't seem to be annoyed by my words. Instead, she asked me softly, why? I avoided her questions. This made her angry. She threw away the chopsticks and shouted at me, "You are not a man." That night, we didn't talk to each other. She was weeping. I knew she wanted to find out what had happened to our marriage. But I could hardly give her a satisfactory answer. She had lost my heart to someone better. Okay, she had lost my heart to another woman. I didn't love her anymore. I just pitied her. How sad. With a deep sense of guilt, I drafted a divorce agreement which stated that she could own our house, our car, and 30% of a stake of our company. She glanced at it and then tore it into pieces. The woman who had spent 10 years of her life with me had become a stranger. I felt sorry for her wasted time, resources, and energy, but I could not take back what I had said, for I loved Du so dearly. Du is the name of the woman. Okay? Finally, she cried loudly in front of me, which was I had expected to see. To me, her cry was actually a kind of release. The idea of divorce, which had obsessed me for several weeks, seemed to be firmer and clearer now. So he planned it before he told the woman. The next day, I came back very late and found her writing at the table. I didn't have supper but went straight to sleep and fell asleep very fast because I was tired after an eventful day with Du. When I awoke, she was still there at the table writing. I just did not care, so I turned over and was asleep again. In the morning, she presented her divorce conditions. So, the woman wrote about divorce conditions. She didn't want anything from me, but needed a month's notice before the divorce. She requested that in that 1 month, we both struggle to live as normal a life as possible. Her reasons were simple. They have one son. Our son had his exams in a month's time, and she didn't want to disrupt him with our broken marriage. This was agreeable to me, but she had something more. She asked to recall how I had carried her into our bridal room on our wedding day. She requested that every day for the month's duration, I carry her out of our bedroom to the front door every morning. I thought she was going crazy. Just to make our last days together bearable, I accepted the request. So I told you about my wife's divorce condition. She laughed loudly and thought it was absurd. No matter what tricks she applies, she has to face the divorce, she said scornfully. So my wife and I hadn't had a body contact since divorce. So when I carried her out on the first day, we both appeared clumsy. Our son clapped behind us. "Daddy is holding mommy in his arms." Wow. His words brought me a sense of pain. From the bedroom to the sitting room to the door, I walked over 10 meters with her in my arms. She closed her eyes and said softly, "Don't tell our son about the divorce." I nodded, feeling somewhat upset. I put her down outside the door. She went to wait for the bus to work. I drove alone to the office. On the second day, both of us acted much more easily. She leaned on my chest. I could smell the fragrance of her blouse. I realized that I hadn't looked at this woman carefully for a long time. I realized she wasn't young anymore. There were fine wrinkles on her face. Her hair was graying, and our marriage had taken its toll on her. For a minute, I wondered what I had done to her. So, men, what are you doing with your women in life? On the fourth day, when I lifted her up, I felt a sense of intimacy returning. This was the woman who had given 10 years of her life to me. On the fifth and sixth day, I realized that our sense of intimacy was growing again. I didn't tell Du about this. It became easier to carry her as the months slipped by. Perhaps the everyday workout made me stronger. She was choosing what to wear one morning. She tried on quite a few dresses, but she could not find a suitable one. Then she sighed. "All my dresses have grown bigger." I suddenly realized that she had grown so thin, and that was the reason why I could carry her more easily. Suddenly, it hit me. She had buried so much pain and bitterness in her heart. Subconsciously, I reached out and touched her head. Our son came in at the moment and said, "Dad, it's time to carry Mom out." To him, seeing his father carrying his mother out had become an essential part of his life. My wife gestured to our son, "Come closer," and hugged him tightly. I turned my face away because I was afraid I might change my mind at this last minute. I then held her in my arms, walking from the bedroom through the sitting room to the hallway. Her hand surrounded my neck softly and naturally. I held her body tightly. It was just like on our wedding day. But her much lighter weight made me sad. On the last day, when I held her in my arms, I could hardly move a step. Our son had gone to school. I held her tightly and said, "I hadn't noticed that our life lacked intimacy." I drove to office, jumped out of the car swiftly without locking the door. I was afraid any delay would make me change my mind.